Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new malicious compliance content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, Ex-Boss Accused Me of Reporting Him So I Did. I worked for his small company for 6 weeks at the end of 2020, it was landscape architecture. He sacked me for being too slow, when I was off sick with COVID, out of the blue. I have undiagnosed, highly suspected, ADHD so I wasn't massively surprised, it affects my job performance. But I was surprised he sacked me via email. I asked for more clarity and I made it clear I was taken aback. I was never rude to him. I just told him I wish he'd called me. He got really mad and proceeded to write a long list of my over-exaggerated and some false shortcomings, e.g. too slow, distracted, stuff he never mentioned at the time. He then said, if you want to take legal action against me, let me know. I didn't. I worked my hardest for him, but he didn't want a graduate employee. He even told me he was looking for someone senior whilst I was there. Instead, he made the sacking very personal just because I asked for clarity. Weird, right? Fast forward to today. He just called my mobile from a private number asking how I was. I was taken aback as we have had no communication since my sacking. He said, someone has put in a report I'm using unlicensed software, was it you? Because I know we left on bad terms. I said I've no idea what you're talking about. He made it seem I was devastated he sacked me, lol, and would have good reason to report him. No matter what I said, he was convinced it was me. He even accused my dad who works in IT. I didn't even know he was using unlicensed software. I said, I feel like you're unfairly accusing me here. He raised his voice and shouted, why do you always play the victim, stop playing the victim. Probably in reference to the fact I questioned the way he sacked me. It sounded so rehearsed I honestly had to hold back laughter. Then he said, I'm not accusing you, but did you do it? Looking back, I believe it was unlicensed. We only ever used the student version of Autodesk, which is illegal when you're running a business. This combined with his accusation tells me he is in fact breaking the law. I was so pissed off by his accusation I reported him to both Autodesk and the BSA. He'll have to run an audit and likely face a huge fine. He thinks I did it either way, so what harm can one more report do? Next one is titled, Accuse My Salesperson of Forgery? Awesome, your service is cancelled. I used to be a sales manager for a B2B services company. We provided a service to business. Unlike a lot of companies, we would not auto-renew a client's service unless they signed a new contract. The contracts were generally for 1 to 3 years. All our contracts were signed on an iPad that recorded the GPS coordinates of where the document was signed, and we emailed the client a copy of the agreement instantly, and in the email we basically said, if you disagree with this contract or would like to make changes, contact us within 5 business days. If you don't, we will move forward and bill accordingly. In addition, one of the cancellation terms in the contract was dishonesty. If the client could prove we were dishonest, they had a right to cancel without penalty. If the client acted dishonestly, we had the right to cancel their contract with us. There was a client that was actually quite a small account but always proved to cause a lot of headache for my reps. I remember calling the rep and going over the common issues I've seen with this client, and I stressed, get the signature on the iPad in his office. I also stressed that if the client wanted to cancel, let him cancel because he's been proven to be very difficult to work with. Salesman went to the sales call, signature was signed, client service was executed according to the terms of the contract. 4 months later, I get an email from a customer service rep. The client is claiming that my salesman forged the client's signature. I did my due diligence before calling the client. 1. I checked where the newest contract was signed. It was signed in the client's place of business via the iPad. 2. I compared the signature on the newest contract to the many signatures on the numerous contracts we had on file with the same signer from the client. They were all very close. 3. I also looked at the email that we went to the client right after the contract was signed. The client opened the link to see his contract 65 minutes after the contract was signed and did nothing. Also, the link was open for several minutes. 4. I looked up the client's current billing status. He was 45 days behind. He knew we didn't start charging late fees until 60 days behind, and at 120 days we would begin litigation collection account status. I called up the client and this is how the call went. Me. Hello, this is Luther from ABC. I was told you are accusing my sales rep of forging your signature on the renewal? Client. Yes, I never agreed to pay that much. I never would have. I told him to give me a discount and I wanted to see it in writing before I signed. Me. And did he give you a discount and show it to you in writing? Client. No, he said he had to go talk to his boss and I never heard back from him. Me. Okay, and then what happened? Client. Well, y'all kept up the service and I noticed on my billing it hadn't gone down but up in cost, and I looked back in my emails and saw the sales rep forged my signature, and that's illegal. Me. Yes, you are right. If the salesperson did forge your signature, that is illegal. Client. Well, good to see that we agree on that. Me. After the contract was signed, regardless if the signature was forged or not, you would have gotten an email with a link to the contract asking you to verify that everything is correct. And if it's not, to let us know within 5 business days. Did you get the email? If you did get the email, did you review the contract? Client. Well, yes, but I was pretty busy and didn't open the email until recently. Me. I totally get it. We are busy nowadays. So assuming he did forge the signature, what would you consider an acceptable resolution to this? Would you want to end service with no penalty? Would you like a discount? Client. I would want a discount. Me. And what would you consider an acceptable discount? Client. 3 months of free service. Me. Got it. Well, Mr. Client, I got several problems with your claim that my sales rep forged your signature, and before I fire this salesperson for forgery and offer you a discount, I'd like to see if we can't address those problems. Client. Sounds fair. Me. The signature was captured on our iPads, which records the GPS coordinates of where the signature happened. For the GPS coordinates, it happened inside your place of business. Client. Well, he knows that, right? Me. Yes, he did. Client. That just means he forged it inside my building. Me. Okay, well, the next issue is that the signature on the renewal contract looks exactly like the previous contracts. Client. He just copied my signature. I know I didn't sign that. Me. Could it be possible someone else in your company signed it? Client. No, everyone here knows I'm the only one that gets to sign those contracts. Me. I understand. The next issue I have with your claim is that the link to the contract that was emailed to you was opened 65 minutes after the contract was signed. Client. No, it wasn't. Me. Yes, sir, it was. The reason why we have you click a link to view the signed contract is so we know if you opened the link or not. Not only that, it appears like the link was open for several minutes, which to me would indicate the person who opened that link reviewed the contract. Also, the fact that no one ever responded to the email would indicate to me the person who reviewed the contract was fine. Client. Are you accusing me of lying? Me. Yes, and because of that I will be canceling your service with us effective immediately. How would you like to pay your current balance? Client. You're canceling my service and want me to pay? Me. Yes, I want you to pay for the services we provided. Client. I'm not going pay. Me. If you're not going pay for the services we provided, I'm going refer you to our collections department, and they will add late fees, and if you don't pay them they will refer you to our law firm for litigation. Client. We have a contract. You can't just cancel my service. Me. Actually I can, since I have good reason to believe you're lying about the accusation that my salesperson forged your signature. Everything I have says you signed it. Our contract states that we cancel your contract for being dishonest, and that's what we are going to do. Client. You hangs up. I referred the client to collections. He eventually paid them without us having to sue him. Honestly, we probably would have just sold his debt to a collection agency due to the dollar amount not being high enough to be worth it to sue. Next one is titled, Do you want me to look professional or not? I guess not. I served in Army for about a decade and was maliciously compliant a lot. I didn't know the term for it back then and have since forgotten most of the stories I would otherwise have, but I have at least one that has stood the test of time. I was at a training course called BLC, Basic Leader Course, which is basically a class to learn some tasks required, expected of people of a certain rank. I was in the Army for a lot longer than most people before finally going to this course. Because of that, I had a lot more knowledge than anyone in my classroom, and very possibly, more than any of the other trainees, about 150 people. We are about a week into the 2 weeks of training. We come outside, in the dark, for early morning PT, physical training. We do this every morning except Sundays, we had all of Sunday off. It is a requirement in the Army to be clean-shaven in order to keep a professional appearance. Now, I have thick facial hair, it grows fast, and I have sensitive skin, so shaving sucks for me. I know from experience that I get a better shave after PT, between the sweating and the shower after it tends to go better for me. And in order to keep the professional appearance, that's what I do. I use an electric razor before PT, so I don't have a full beard, but it isn't close enough to be professional, then I use a regular razor after PT. If I shave before PT, I have a 5 o'clock shadow by noon, and full beard by end of day. Plus, I figure if there is going to be a part of the day where my hair is a bit long, I figure when it's dark out is the best time. One morning, during PT, one of the instructors pulls me aside and asks if I shaved that morning. I told him what was going on and explained my reasoning. He doesn't accept this and he writes me a counseling statement. In this context, a counseling statement is a formal reprimand that unless you get a bunch of them they don't really matter. That said, because I was in a school setting, this counseling statement took me out of the running for the Army equivalent of valedictorian. This aggravated me, because I had perfect scores up to the point, and spent a lot of time helping the other soldiers, because I didn't really need the practice myself. I get told I have to shave every day before PT. I listen to them, and just like I had warned, I start ending the day with too much hair. I get another counseling statement. If you get 3 counseling statements during this training you get kicked out for not shaving. I made my case to my instructors, and once again they didn't care. They told me to maintain a professional appearance. I had to shave 4 times a day. Which is ducking insane and would ruin my face. I tell them this and they say that without a medical shaving profile, medical exemption, that I have to shave 4 times. Finally we come to the malicious compliance, almost. Shaving profiles are fairly common in the Army, but are almost always only given to black guys. Black people get bad bumps and razor burn on their faces more often than white people for reasons that I don't know and haven't bothered to look up. To give you an idea of the rarity of white people with shaving profiles, over my more than a decade of service, I saw a total of 0 white people with shaving profiles. Until, I call my home unit and request to speak with a medic. I tell him what's happening and he writes and emails me profile stating that I can have facial hair below a certain length. I think it was 1/8 of an inch, due to skin condition. On some people, that much hair isn't crazy, but with my thick dark hair, it's very obvious. I go to PT in the morning, not shaven, and get pulled aside again. I get asked if I shaved, I say, no, and pull out my shaving profile. The guy reads it, hands it back, clearly upset, and says, okay. The entire day and rest of the training I get confused and angry looks from leadership. I get stopped regularly and asked what's going on. I'm telling you, white guys don't get shaving profiles. The highlight was at graduation when all the really high-ranking people show up. I have sergeants majors, colonels etc. staring me down. I see them talking to our instructors pointing at me. God damn did that feel good. I hope I looked professional enough for them. A little extra, I ended up getting 5 total counseling statements and somehow still graduated. Next one is titled, I didn't bump it so don't take it from the window. This is a simple act of malicious compliance but a solid one. I'm the general manager for a restaurant. I was exposing for a call out on a busy Sunday. The way our system works is the electronic board turns green when the food is ready and in the window. I take it from the window and throw it on the tray with the printed ticket and it flies. I saw one of the line chefs plate some food and throw it in the window. I was unaware that he wasn't completely done with it and grabbed it and put it on the tray. He immediately snapped at me and said if he didn't bump it, turn it green on the computer screen, it wasn't ready. I immediately apologized and put it back in the window for him to finish. Now, I understand I outrank him and could have caused a scene, but I appreciate the work the line does and realized at the moment that I needed to choose my battles. This wasn't a battle I was interested in fighting. He understood his comments were in the heat of the moment and apologized that he shouldn't have snapped the way he did a few moments after the incident. It was all good with me. I wasn't holding a grudge one bit. Not even 5 minutes later some food got plated and thrown in the window. It was ready to get thrown on a tray and sent out to the customer, however, it wasn't bumped so it wasn't green so I didn't throw it on the tray. Instead, I stood back and waited. And waited. 3 to 5 minutes went by and then it hit him like a ton of bricks. A million apologies spewed out of the line cook's mouth as he reached for the bump button on his side. As soon as it turned green, I pulled it out of the window and threw it on the tray with the ticket. It was ready to fly. I didn't say a thing. I continued on with my day like nothing happened, but in the back of both of our minds, we both knew I won with a simple act of malicious compliance. Last one is titled, "Don't work until I show you how to do it properly." Background. I work maintenance in a school board, and every summer we bust our butts using heavy machines to scrub the top layer of dirty, damaged wax off the classroom floors, and then reapplying fresh wax. For most schools this is a full summer job, working full shifts from the time the kids leave until they return, to get everything done. Each school has a head of maintenance, and each group of schools, 1 high school and 5 to 10 elementary schools, has a supervisor of maintenance. Now on to the malicious compliance. Supervisor was a bit of a jerk, who thought he knew the best way to do every job. If he didn't like you, or felt a perceived slight from you, he was vindictive too. Well, the week before the summer break began, he calls all the maintenance staff into a meeting, during which he informs them that, no one is to do anything with the floors until I show them how to scrub and wax them properly. Fair, I guess. Some supervisors are weird about having specific methods they like seeing to get things done. Maybe his method is better than how we've been taught. Except directly after uttering this edict, supervisor goes on vacation for 3 weeks. Of course, not wanting to disobey him, the maintenance staff did exactly what they'd been instructed to, nothing. About a week into this, the manager of maintenance, the supervisor's boss, showed up, and was flabbergasted to find the maintenance team just sitting, with no work being done. When he asked them why the heck they weren't working, they told him what supervisor had told them. Manager told them to go start working, and he would deal with supervisor. Supervisor was moved to a different school area after that. Thanks for listening.